Nicky, so here is Altior. Could be a big season for him. Are you going into it with some sense of sort of trepidation as he steps up in distance?
I think you do, because we know where he is over 2 miles, and I think that's what sort of the public opinion says. You're being boring. You've got to try something different, and I think he will stay, and I think even both Nico and I both feel that at the moment possibly even would appreciate another half a mile anyway. 3 miles is a different ball game, and if anybody has any notions that because Kempton is a flat track, and it looks not an easy track, but it's stamina-wise, it's not. You have to stay every bit of 3 miles in the King George, only because they just always go a good gallop. There's no hiding places, no time to take a break. Whereas if you're around Cheltenham or somewhere, there's always a point in the race where you can just have a bit of a breather. Hey, I'm not sure whether he's agreeing with me or not, but there you go. Yeah, it'll be a different game, and I mean, you know, look, he has actually never been beaten. We all accept that's got to happen sooner or later. It's bound to. But I obviously prefer it not to. But that's, you know, that's probably being wishful. So we're going to try it. I mean, we'll try him at Ascot. That'll certainly give us a clue. If he doesn't stay there, then there's no point in trying to go on over 3 miles. In which case we'll just have to come back to 2 and say, okay, well, we forfeited the Tingle Creek, but let's just go back and stick to what we know we're the best at.
And that was the thing. Were you tempted to just stick to what you know? Almost a case of if it ain't broke, why fix it? How difficult a decision was it to say we're going to try this 2.5 and 3 miles?
Well, I think if you go back 2 or 3 years ago, when he was a novice hurdler, and when we sat down with Christopher and Pat Pugh and discussed whether to go novice chasing with him or not. Because I was fairly confident at the time that he would be well capable of winning a champion hurdle. So I sort of, you know, that was the big break. He was 6 rising 7 at the time, so he had to move at that stage, otherwise it was going to be too late ever to do it. And luckily it looked as if that was the right decision, and he's loved it, and his jumping is, you know, touch wood, has been spectacular all the way through. And so we've sat down again this summer to say, right, you know, are we going to branch out and do something different? And yeah, that's what we've concluded. And I think the Ascot race is the obvious place to start, and there'll be plenty of opposition, there'll be plenty of pace. I'm sure they'll try and stretch his stamina.
What have you thought of Surname? How scared are you of him?
He was very impressive the last time. I agree, and it'll be a fascinating clash. It's one that I'm sure everybody's going to look forward to. I don't know that, you know, he certainly he stays that far, and he goes a good gallop, so it's sure to be a good test. We'll find out plenty.
So let's, in an ideal world, assume he wins at Ascot, goes to the King George, wins that. Then you know you're going to get asked these questions. Sure. Is he going to run in the Gold Cup? Obviously, that's a long, long way off. There's going to be a lot of water under the bridge between then and now. But in your heart of hearts, do you believe that you think he could become a genuine Gold Cup contender?
Well, other horses have done this, so it wouldn't be unique from going from 2 to 3.5. Desert Orchid could do, you know, he was outstanding. He could win over 2 miles, he could win over 3.25, and there's no reason why he wouldn't. It's just his style of racing tells you that he's full of gears, and his jumping is so exuberant. Now that's the danger. You've actually got to try and curtail this if he's going to genuinely stay the trip, because he'll be over racing, or he'll just jump his way to the front. Well, that's not the way to do it, really. He's got to learn to settle, and that's why I don't want to go Tingle Creek, King George, because I think it's an unnatural way of going from 2 miles to 3 miles in one go. Would be an ambitious thing to do. I think we need to have a race over, try and teach him just to drop it a little bit earlier on in the race. Take my ear off.
And he's stepping up in trip. Is there anything you do at home? Has his training regime changed slightly this term? You do exactly the same?
No, it's exactly the same. And it would be if you were training him for a 1.5 mile flat race, and he'd win one of those too.